All the way back during the 2022 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers had 4 different picks to work with. There was the 14th pick and 3 second-round selections. The 39th pick, the 49th pick, and last but certainly not least, the 56th pick. And while many analysts and fans, including myself, felt that they would end up consolidating those picks in order to move up in the draft, an idea that seemed plausible at the time considering the immense talent available within the 2022 draft, they would end up walking away with 4 different players. There was Ochai Agbaji, who was eventually moved in the trade that brought Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland. There's Khalifa Diop, who is currently toiling away with Baskonia of the Liga ACB. There's Isaiah Mobley, brother of defensive dynamo Evan Mobley, and a raw Australian swingman out of Perth of the NBL, Luke Travers. And upon this selection, I gotta admit, I knew little about Travers, except that he had a sick-ass mullet, very reminiscent of Billy from Stranger Things. So I was very curious to see what this young man was all about, and the NBA Summer League was as good an opportunity as any to evaluate him. And I gotta admit, I was intrigued. It wasn't that he did anything spectacular or particularly flashy, but he showcased just how well-rounded his game was. At 6'7" with a 16 wingspan, Travers has prototypical wing size, but had a guard skill set. He looked like a potential point forward in the making. He was also a solid rebounder for his size, was a sturdy defender, was great in transition, and displayed his instincts as a slasher. This collection of skills was apparent as soon as his first game stateside in the 2022-23 NBA Summer League, in which he kind of stuffed the stat sheet to the tune of 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 5 blocks. He was doing a bit of everything, looking like a human Swiss Army knife. And then he was gone. Back to the NBL on a journey to continued improvement. Most notably his 3-point stroke, which was by far the biggest area of growth for him, especially coming off a season for Perth in which he shot just 25% from 3-point distance, the same percentage he had in the Summer League. The shot definitely needed some work, and work on it he did. Upon his return to Perth, Travers would turn in the best numbers of his career while receiving the highest minute totals of his career. He would end the 2022-23 season with averages of 9.8 points, 5.6 boards, 3 assists, and 1 steal per game, while shooting a very efficient 50% from the floor, including 40.5% from 3-point distance. Now, the volume was still leaving a lot to be desired at roughly 2.9 attempts per game, but he made the most of his limited looks, knocking down 1.2 triples per game, a number that would rank 9th among current Cavaliers, right behind Isaac Okoro's 1.3 per game. Travers would help Perth to a 15-13 record during the regular season and a playoff berth as a 6th seed, where they would defeat the SE Melbourne Phoenix before falling at the hands of the Cairns Taipans. He would average 8.7 boards, 1.5 assists, and 2.5 steals while shooting 43.8% from the field during those playoffs. Respectable numbers to say the least, but considering he shot just 20% from 3-point distance, the questions about his perimeter shot resurfaced. And then he had a long layoff before re-emerging during the Cavs' 2023 Summer League appearance. Travers would yet again tantalize with his signature blend of versatility, putting up averages of 7.5 points, 6.3 boards, 2 assists, and 2.2 blocks while shooting 48.7% from the field over the course of 6 games. The Aussy played a huge role in helping the Cavs secure the Summer League title. Travers was even tasked with guarding heralded Rockets rookie Cam Whitmore and held him to 14 points on 6 of 17 shooting from the field. He was impactful in each and every game, but his best performance probably came in the semifinals, where he totaled 11 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 4 blocks, while going 5 of 11 from the field overall. He was smooth as hell. He knew how to attack the closeout.
Your day is totally different. You're in college. You got class, you got study hall, you got weights, you got film, you got practice.
How to play the passing lanes.
For walking off under his own power, thankfully.
When to cut to the basket.
6. Mobley muscles his way in, left hand no.
And was a quality playmaker, making several well-timed passes. Overall, his Summer League performance left many fans pondering whether or not it was time for the Australian swingman to make the leap to the NBA. A notion that Travers himself dispelled, stating, "I feel like there was more than there was no point for a two-way, because the NBL's just as good as the G League, so they were happy to keep me over here. The talk is just one more year in the NBL, and hopefully it's a good one. To be able to come back, it's what I wanted to do to continue to develop my game in Melbourne, and I'm coming here to win. Coming over here, there's a lot of clarity. They've been awesome about it, so getting that uncertainty out of the way makes everything else easier." This made a ton of sense, as Cleveland wasn't going to be able to offer him a guaranteed role, nor would it have made sense considering they had recently rounded out the rotation by acquiring the likes of Max Strus and George Niang, along with holding on to Karis LeVert. This is all in addition to the fact that they still had Isaiah Mobley, had just drafted Emoni Bates, and picked up Craig Porter Jr. as an undrafted free agent, all of which were signed to the Cavs' 3 available two-way spots. There just wasn't really any room for Travers at the time. So it made sense to go back to the NBL where he could continue to hone his skills, especially that perimeter shot, which was very, very much still a question mark after going just 3 of 12 from three-point range during his 6-game Summer League action. But Travers wouldn't return to the Perth Wildcats. Oh no, he found a new home amongst some very familiar faces as he would sign a 3-year pact with Melbourne United in an effort to become more NBA ready than ever. When asked about why he chose Melbourne by ESPN, Travers stated the following: "It's the track record that they have of developing guys to the NBA that was appetizing for me. That's where I want to get to. It's the culture that's been built there. You see it when you play them. Dean's been a focal point of that, and speaking to him through it all, what he wanted to do with me and his plans for my development, but also to win games at the same time, that was the big deciding factor for it all." The aforementioned Dean is Dean Vickerman, head coach of Melbourne United, and he had this to say about Travers at the time: "Luke may be one of the only people in the league who can actually play 1 through 5, whatever position's needed. We want to specialize him at the 4 to start with, and then adjust and move around and do things that we see an advantage with him on the floor." It seemed as if Travers' priorities were in the right area. He wants to be as ready as he can be for when the Cavs eventually come calling. It would also help, of course, that Travers would share the court with another Aussy legend with ties to the Cavaliers and Matthew Dellavedova, a player who at one point personified grit and toughness, helping the Cavs win their title back during the finals era. So how has Travers fared during the 2023-24 season? Well, honestly, he's having the best season of his young career in many regards at the moment. In 29 total appearances for Melbourne as of recording this, Travers is putting up a career high in both points and rebounds at 12.4 points and 7.6 rebounds respectively. He's also averaging 1.8 assists, 1.2 blocks, and 1.2 steals while shooting 52.1% from the field. Now, the 3 ball is not where you want it to be, as he is shooting a lowly 30.3% from distance, but he has managed to attack in other areas, especially as a driver. Travers uses his length to contest shots at the rim and has become somewhat of a rim protector. Couple this with his speed out in the open court, and you have a player who can very quickly turn defense into offense. He thrives in transition, often running the floor with a purpose, and that purpose being finishing over, through, or around his opponents. He's also a better facilitator than his 1.8 assists per game would indicate due to his ability to find the open man. And although he is still very much a work in progress as a shooter, he has shown that he is willing to pull the trigger if the defense gives him too much space out on that perimeter. Becoming a viable catch and shoot threat could prove key in helping him establish footing at the NBA level, especially with everything else he brings to the table. Now, all of these things have led to him once again filling up the stat sheet for a Melbourne team that is playing for the NBL Grand Finals as we speak. Luke apparently even turned down an opportunity to represent Australia at the recent FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers in order to put himself in the best possible position to influence Melbourne United's NBL Finals run. And his hard work isn't going unnoticed either. Cleveland general manager Mike Gansey took a trip to Australia this past December to scout Travers' progress, and in an interview with the Australian, he was quoted with the following: "We're checking up on him via text, via call, checking his stats, watching his tape. I'm here. We've had other staff visit throughout the year as well. He's just sneaky. Sneaky athlete, sneaky defender, sneaky shooter. We're excited. He's someone who we think could be a future Cavalier at some point, and that's why we're taking all the time to get him better." And in my opinion, he has definitely improved, Cavs fans. Look no further than Melbourne's recent overtime victory over the Illawarra Hawks, in which Travers totaled 24 points, 8 boards, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. The man buried triples.
8 blocks all up for United. Travers is in the corner. Could be the dagger.
Operated as the roll man in pick and roll sets, with Delhi operating as the initiator.
Rolling. Dellavedova turns the corner. Nice finish from Travers to tie things up.
And was even a lob threat.
And some automatically assume it's nice pass. Talk about alley-oops and finding people around the rim. Dellavedova and Shea Illy. This time it's Delhi on the Harvey Norman replay, just throwing it up in a perfect catch.
Those two have built a really solid chemistry, by the way. Now the question is, what does the future hold for Luke Travers in regards to the Cleveland Cavaliers? He has already turned down going the two-way route, as he seems to believe that the NBL is just as competitive, if not more so, than the NBA's G League, where he would potentially suit up for the charge. Would he consider coming over anyways in an effort to be close to the team if he were presented with the opportunity? Do the Cavs like his development enough to sign him to a standard contract outright? Where would he play from a positional standpoint? And is there even really room? These are all questions that I hope to have some sort of clarity on come the 2024-25 offseason period. Overall, it sounds to me like Cleveland likes what they have seen, but are trying to remain patient with his development and growth as a player. Travers is as well, for what it's worth. He's got a constant reminder of that, seeing as how he has a tattoo of the singular word patience. He knows his shot in the NBA will come in time, but for now, he's focused on improving. And with all that being said, we could see Travers stateside once again come to 2024 Summer League. And I, for one, am very eager to see him playing for the Cavaliers again in some capacity. Time will tell what the future holds. Go Cavs!